Hello, and thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about Alchemco's concrete waterproofing, and we're going to be comparing and contrasting the crystalline technology versus the gel forming technology. So let's get going. Alchemco is a global manufacturer of concrete waterproofing and masonry products. We have both gel forming and crystalline technology products. The gel forming products are our TechCrete brand, our Crete Pro brand, and our Bridge Deck brand. Those are all spray applied concrete waterproofing that forms a gel below the surface of the concrete. And then our Dura-Type product line is crystalline technology and has both an admixture that gets put into concrete when it's being poured on new construction projects, and also patch and repair for below grade leaks. Crystalline waterproofing materials can be used in a wide variety of construction applications. These products are generally made up of silica, cement, proprietary chemicals, and when they're exposed to water, they have the ability to plug pores, capillaries, micro cracks, and other small voids. These systems fall into the integral waterproofing system category, which is working inside the concrete as opposed to a coating that would be put on the surface of the concrete. There's three main ways to apply crystalline technology products. There's surface applied, multiple slurry coats, and that is for existing structures. There's broadcasting the product onto a surface that's been installed, new concrete. That's called the dry shake method. And then there is putting the admixture powder into the concrete as it's being mixed. That eliminates, obviously, the labor needed to put waterproofing on later. While there are many different types of concrete admixture available, some are speed up the hardening of the concrete, the curing, etc. This specific type of concrete admixture is crystalline based, and it's really a waterproofing solution, although it does densify the concrete as well. When it's added to the concrete during the mixing process, the moisture and the free lime within the mix combine with the active chemicals in the admixture, and that forms insoluble crystals that are inside of those capillaries and will block off liquid water from being able to move, but they will stay vapor permeable. The use of admixture method of waterproofing, as I mentioned, does not rely on skilled workmanship. It's just a powder that's in the concrete when it's being poured. It's a very durable system. It can't be damaged like some of the other surface water coating systems can be. The sheet membrane, the liquid coatings, which can all be damaged, delaminate, decompose, or wear out. This product cannot do that because it's inside the concrete. Most of these products are VOC free, and the concrete remains recyclable. Here's a partial list of applications that you could use crystalline technology products on. Waterproofing of foundations, slabs, walls, water storage tanks, wastewater, potable water, elevator shafts and parking garages, basements, secondary containment centers, and swimming pools. So basically anything you're using structural concrete for, you could use the admixture for. On the leak repair side of things, this is a video of our Dura-Type product line. Some of the main components are a leak repair system, and you're going to just see an animation here where you have the water stain starting to come through the concrete surface from the outside. In this case, you're going to drill where the damp spot is to get to the water. And once that has been achieved, you're going to take the Dura-Type plug mix and you're going to pack it into a small little ball and pack it into that hole that got drilled, and that's going to stop the water immediately at that point. Then you're going to have the second product, which is going to come in behind this. This is the Dura-Type repair mortar, and that will come flush with the wall. And then lastly, the third component is to brush on the Dura-Type foundation over the top of the surface. And this is going to give you a long-term way to stop the leak in the concrete that's coming in from outside the building. On the other hand, so here we are doing a comparison of the modified silicate gel and the crystalline technology. So you see here on the left, there's a gentleman spray applying the modified silicate gel that's coming out of a 55-gallon drum down here and being sprayed on the surface. Here you see it being sprayed out of a backpack sprayer on a vertical application. This is actually a pretty neat project. It's been in several of the concrete industry magazines. It's a floating dry dock that we applied our Techcrete 2500 system to, and we're able to completely watertight it within 26 hours and get it back in the water. It's been 5 years now in the water without any leaks. And then here you see a backpack sprayer doing a parking structure. This is a quick video that shows the application going down with the backpack sprayer. After the area has been cleaned and prepped, and cleaning and prepping is going to change on every job depending on the site conditions. But once it's been cleaned and prepped, which means you've got dry open pores in the concrete, you're going to spray the first step, our waterproofing agent, this modified silicate gel. And they're going to be able to do about 3,000 square feet an hour, just one person using a backpack sprayer. It has a very good coverage rate. The coverage is about 200 square feet per gallon. And as you can see, it's a very easy application. It's a very fast application, particularly in parking structures, but also in water containment tanks. It allows you to shut those areas down for as short a time as possible. Surface coatings, for instance, would take probably 2 to 3 times as long. You'd have to shut the area down. You can also spray this on bigger projects. You can spray it directly out of the 55-gallon drum. Here you see that. It's a 2-man crew here. They've cordoned off an area on a parking structure for the city of Bloomington, Indiana. And they're able to get, the cars are able to get from the upper levels to the lower levels. In the meantime, they're able to spray this entire area, and using this application, they're probably covering more like 15,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet per hour with a 2 or a 3-man crew. So again, very rapid application. This entire area here that you see was done in about 15 to 20 minutes. And then within 5 or 6 hours, this is trafficable, and you can walk on it. You could drive on it if needed, and then come back and do the next step afterwards. Following that first application of the waterproofing, you let it dry and then you water it. And this watering is a very important component. It is used to do 2 things. One is to clean off the concrete surface to make sure there isn't any excess waterproofing around that's going to dry and stain, have a white splotchy stain. But the important part really too is this drives the concrete or the chemicals into the concrete and starts that activation, starts that gel forming happening. So then as the comparison, you've got the crystalline slurry. In this case, they're spraying this or brooming this onto the outside of the building as a comparison. And again, just a reminder, we have both products in both of these technologies. They're useful in different applications. So both of these technologies are integral waterproofing systems. That means there's no seams. It means they're low overall cost. They can be applied to the negative or positive side of the application. The spray applied, we really recommend the negatives or the positive side. The crystal can be the negative side. Protects reinforcing steel from corrosion, which is critically important for the long-term durability of the concrete structure. they're environmentally friendly, and they can't be compromised by poor site conditions, poor workmanship, or work site damage. Also, they can't be scraped off by snowplow blades or anything like that. Both product types have proven technology. They've been used around the globe for over 30 years. And foe becomes friend. Generally, water is a big problem for concrete structures, but both of these systems actually use the water to transport the chemicals into the concrete and either form crystals to block the water penetration or form gel to block the waterproof or water from getting into the concrete. I will say this, the gel forming technology is a little bit more flexible, does handle thermal shock and building movement better than the crystal does. They both leave latent chemicals behind embedded in the concrete, and they both will not only seal existing cracks, but seal future cracks. However, the gel forming does seal a crack that's 5 times as wide as the ability of the crystalline. These products differ from simple densifiers in that they're not just densifying the concrete, but they are waterproofing it, truly waterproofing, particularly the gel. So when water transports in on a new crack, it's going to hit that gel and it's going to fill that new crack. And so you get very, very long term. We're talking decades instead of years like you would get off of the coating systems, the surface coatings. Both product types are capable of extremely high hydrostatic pressure ratings. And so they're great for tunnels, dams, pools, subways, things like that. Both product types require proper surface preparation before they're applied. You have to have clean, dry concrete in order for these applications to happen. So just to kind of swing back through advantages of the modified silicate gel, the spray applied, fast application, 15, even 20,000 square feet an hour. That means less downtime. It also means contractors can get on jobs and get off jobs much faster. The gel leaves the surface of the concrete unchanged. After it dries, it looks exactly the way that it did before, does not change the slipperiness coefficient. So it's not going to be more slippery. It's not going to be less slippery. It's going to be exactly the same. You can also paint or coat, have an aesthetic coating over them, depending on how you want them to look afterwards. So as I said, the gel forming can seal cracks 5 times wider than the crystalline, so up to 2 millimeters wide, whereas the crystalline is 0.4 millimeters. It'll also increase the hardness of the concrete from 6 to 8 on a Mohs scale, which is granite. Granite is on the Mohs scale is an 8. And then crystalline products shouldn't really be used with structures that are going to have a lot of thermal stress, building movement. The gel really does a better job of that. Some of the pros and cons for the gel: fast and easy to install, simple spray equipment, resists extreme hydrostatic pressure, becomes an integral part of the substrate. It's reactive. It can seal cracks up to 2 millimeters wide, allows the concrete to breathe. It's vapor permeable. Highly resistant to aggressive chemicals, non-toxic and VOC free. It's not going to get punctured or tear or come apart at the seams like the surface membranes are. And then again, no loss of slip resistance. There's no costly priming or leveling that's needed. Does not require sealing, lapping of anything like you would have with sheet membranes. Can be applied positive or negative side. Increases the hardness of the concrete from a 6 to 8. Less costly to apply than the other methods, not subject to deterioration, and it actually increases the bond strength between the cementitious materials. Really, the only con is that the concrete surface has to be dry before beginning the application of the waterproof products. The advantages of the crystalline: it's surface applied. In this case, as I said before, the admixture goes into the concrete when it's being poured. But if you're doing it on an existing structure, you're going to put it on the surface. Can be above grade or below grade. It's usually a 2-coat application in most cases. It's going to help prevent the water and other liquids from getting in and causing problems in the concrete. and some of the pros and cons of that. The pros are very similar. High hydrostatic pressure ratings, it can seal a hairline crack, but only up to 0.4 millimeters, becomes part of the integral part of the substrate, allows concrete to breathe, highly resistant to chemicals, non-toxic. In this case, they don't require a dry surface. They actually want you to wet the surface before you put the slurry on. Cannot puncture or tear or come apart at the seams because there are no seams. No costly surface priming, does not require sealing and lapping, etc., and can be a positive or negative side. This actually works very well on the negative side. So like that instance where I showed you where it's below grade and into an elevator pit or something like that where there's groundwater coming in. The cons, there's a few more. Slurry coat is applied to the face of the concrete, so it does change the appearance of the concrete. The brush application is slow and labor intensive. It's quite a bit slower than the spray applied is. If you do want to spray apply it, you have to have the big industrial specialized spray rig like we had showed on the other picture there, fairly expensive. Should not be used on projects where there's going to be a substantial building movement. And as I said, it requires 2 coats in most cases. And if you put it on too thick, it can peel off. Here's a few case studies of these. These are all topical applications. So these are all the spray applied modified silicate gel, Lowe's corporate headquarters. This is in Mooresville, North Carolina. On the left here, you see the 2 parking structures. They did both of those back in 2006, so a little over 15 years ago now. And it had worked out so well for them that this last year, they did another parking deck, a 3rd parking deck, and about another 45,000 square feet of that. And here you see the spray application. Here, the 2-man crew, and they're doing that on that project. Miami International Airport, they did 700,000 square feet of parking structure here on the Dolphin and the Flamingo ramp. They did one in 2010 and the other one in 2015. Now, this was an existing 25-year-old parking structure that was leaking when they did both of these in 2010 and 2015. They've done a fantastic job out there of protecting those structures. In fact, right now we're working with Miami International Airport on 2 other projects that they want to do. This is an interesting project because you're fighting high humidity environment, a salt air environment because it's close to the coast. And then you've also got contaminants like jet fuel residue that you have to deal with. Peterson Event Center at the University of Pittsburgh. This was done back in 2007. This is a resort in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, back in 2006. So again, 15, 16 years ago, they did all the levels here right on the coast. Cincinnati Bengals football, Paul Brown Stadium last summer. They did the first phase, a 30,000 square foot area. Apex at City Place. This is a new construction condo complex in Kansas City area. They did 120,000 square feet, which was the top level of an underground parking structure last fall. You see that happening here. And this is actually a situation where they used a spray rig instead of spraying out of the backpack sprayers. They have a 10-foot wide spray bar here. This holds 55 gallons of waterproofing. And so with 1 or 2 guys, they can do probably more like about 25 to 30,000 square feet an hour with this. It's a very fast way of doing it. This is a project that we look at because it's documented history for over 30 years. Back in 1988, this parking structure was 20 years old at the time and cracked and leaking. They used our products to waterproof that top level of the deck. 5 years later, they came back and had a 3rd party do the testing, an engineer do the testing on a water test. It was still 100% watertight. And then in 2017, so 30 years later almost, 5 years ago now, they did another water test, had another 3rd party come out. That's what you see here. And they laminated these PVC pipes to the concrete deck. These 3 are over one of the original cracks that was leaking back in 1988. These 3 are just on the concrete surface. And it was, again, 100% watertight. So over 30 years without any reapplication or maintenance. This is the Basilica Sanctuary of Our Lady of Tears in Italy. This was done in 2010, so about 12 years ago now. This is a concrete roof structure, very interesting project, and they scaffolded this and were able to do the entire roof area, and it was 50 years old at the time. This is a new construction project in San Diego that was done back in 1999 to 2001. It was 300,000 square feet. It involved the podium decks with post-tension cables, parking decks, and walkways were all waterproofed with the spray applied modified silicate gel. Oil terminal down in Brazil with Petrobras, again, back in 2010. This speaks to the ability of the product to protect against salt water corrosion, chloride ion migration. This is one of the older ones here in the US. This is in 1986, Pittsburgh International Airport. They did 1 million square feet of runway. They built this big spray rig you see here on the left, and they did 1 million square feet of runway in 72 hours. So 3 days to do 1 million square feet of runway. And so again, that speaks to the fast application and the ability to get on projects and off, because you certainly don't want to shut runways down any longer than you have to. This is an indoor water park in Bahrain, at a mall in Bahrain, 200,000 square feet. This was done back in 2009. And all the swimming and floating areas were done. This is the main waterproofing. Here you see him doing the watering phase while the structure was being built. Moby Basketball Arena, Colorado State University. This one was interesting because they did this upper level here. You see, as you walk up, this is that second level. This was leaking, and below this is all occupied space. This is offices and locker rooms and everything. And so it was leaking into those. And so they waterproofed this entire flat area. They were extremely happy with it. And that led to a project at the football stadium, which they're doing the first phase of now. Piedmont Hospital in Atlanta, they did 163,000 square feet on these 2 parking structures here that, as they were being built, those were new construction. This was back in 2000 and 2001. And so lastly, just to kind of give you an idea of the products and the uses that we have, our Techcrete system is a spray applied, gel forming, long-term. This is only a one-time application. You put this down and you never have to go back for the life of the structure. As I said, it's spray applied. You use it on parking ramps, stadiums, water treatment plants, balconies, planters. This is specification driven. We have certified contractors that do the work. So these are factory trained contractors. We have field technical people that go out to the job site and work with the contractors and make sure they're doing it properly. You can get a 20 or 30-year labor and material warranty on projects like this. They have great life cycle costing. When you compare them to coating systems that last 5 years, 8 years, maybe, possibly 10, and here you're talking about one-time application for 30, 40, 50 years. No VOCs. This is potable water certified, so drinking water. Then we have our Crete Pro product line. This is also spray applied and gel forming. This is meant to last 5 to 15 years before it has to then be reapplied. This is a less expensive version. It can be put on by maintenance teams or contractors, either one. The maintenance teams can be trained. So like for universities, municipalities, hospitals where they have their own maintenance teams, they can do it, or else contractors can use it on private work. This is material only warranty for this product line. And also, again, no VOCs and potable water certified. Then we have the bridge deck line, and this, as you can imagine, is aimed at the highway departments. It's bridges, it's tunnels, it's dams, DOT type projects. Once again, maintenance teams or contractors can do the applications. Warranty is a material only warranty, has great life cycle costing, and again, no VOCs and potable water certified. Then we have the Dura-Type product line. This is the one I was telling you about, our crystalline technology for below grade repairs, or our concrete admixture that gets put in the concrete. We also have a temporary roof system that uses the spray applied technology, and that is to keep projects watertight that have concrete roof decks until they can get their permanent roof on. With the supply chain issues right now, that's become quite a problem. Some projects are out as much as a year. So this is a way to do that. And then lastly, our ACR product line, we have cleaners and etch, we have solvents, and we have enhancers and accessories for the waterproofing. So these are used to clean and repair all the concrete surfaces before the waterproofing is done. Also accessories for the waterproofing systems. They work extremely well. They're environmentally friendly. They're safe for the workers to use. Particularly our acid etch is a muriatic acid replacement. You're able to spray it on the concrete. There's no hazmat suits needed. You don't have to neutralize it and have a big mess. You can just let it dry on the surface and then broom it up or vacuum it up. We have an emulsifying cleaner that gets grease and oil out of concrete, flashing materials and caulking, and then our surface and crack repair materials. So as you can see, we have entire systems along with trained contractors. So it's really a great value, long-term waterproofing done by professionals. And that's the end of this presentation. Once again, I'd like to thank you for joining us. Hopefully this was informative.